Michelle Obama rightly said, there is no limit to what we as a women can accomplish, and Gauri Devidayal has manifested in her life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of F&B Talks powered by the Restaurant Times. I am Prachi Ahuja and welcoming our today's guest, a woman who needs absolutely no introduction, Gauri Devidayal, who's a renowned name in the Indian F&B industry. Her journey into the restaurant world is one of those we can look up to for inspiration. As an entrepreneur, podcaster, book author, wife, and a mother, she took up all the challenges right on and overcame them all with panache. Gauri is a law graduate from the University College London and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, England and Wales. She pursued her career as a tax consultant with PwC and was in London, came back to Mumbai after 8 years in UK. Gauri, along with her husband Jay Yusuf, who is a telecommunications expert, launched The Table, a restaurant in 2011 in South Mumbai, which has now gone to in many a caller dates and much recognition in the city as an international and national, including being ranked in the world's 50 best restaurants. Gauri and Jay have launched multiple delivery brands, including Iktara, Max Street Bread Co., Max Street Toppings, and Miss Tea Delivery. Most recently, Gauri and Jay launched their second restaurant in Kolaba called Max Street Cafe, an all-day casual dining space. She has also authored a telebook, Diamonds for Breakfast, wherein she spills beans about running city's most loved dining establishments. Gauri was also listed in Forbes India 120 Leaders of Change, GQ's list of 50 most influential young Indians, Black Book's top 50 women in the Indian luxury, and is joint secretary of the National Restaurant Association of India. Welcome to F&B Talks, Gauri. It's a pleasure to host and have a great leader like you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Gauri. So let's just, begin our talk with one of the questions that I really wanted to ask about your new book, Diamonds for Breakfast. That has been getting raving reviews. It covers the cool stories of Bombay's, hottest kitchens, along with the success story of The Table, which is Bombay's most beloved restaurant and your starting venture, your baby. Can you please tell me more about the book and, how the idea of this book came into being and what was the main source of inspiration to write the book?
Sure. Actually, we were thinking about, we were coming up on the 10-year anniversary of The Table. And, I wanted to mark the occasion in a special way. And I'm not a chef. So, the idea of writing a cookbook was just not something that, came naturally to me. But I know that, there were so many amazing stories about just this journey of the last 10 years of this business that I just thought it would be a nice way to commemorate The Table and, how like that whole ride basically, but through fun stories. And so I started writing the book with my co-author, Vishwas Kulkarni, and then COVID struck. So the project came to a bit of a grinding halt. And then we picked it up again, once things had stabilized. And it finally came out shortly after the 12-year anniversary instead. But that was the reason for writing a book, was just, it was originally with the idea of like marking the occasion. But I think, as I was going through the process, it was obviously a lot happened during those 2 years, which has also found its way into the book. But I think, there's a lot of misconception about running restaurants or owning restaurants, and it comes across as a very glamorous business. And I think I kind of wanted to just give a little bit of a behind the scenes take on the realities of this business, but in a fun, lighthearted way, which is what the book is.
Absolutely. I am looking forward to read it very soon. So coming on to my next question, as you said that, this business is all about the harsh reality of this business is all about actually working 24/7 on the toes. There's no holiday, 365 you guys are on the toes. Actually, when we people think that we want to relax, it's it's for you have to do it for us. So how do you balance the need to stay competitive and profitable with the desire of offering high quality and unique? Also, I've read that you guys locally source the ingredients for your dishes. So how are you able to manage all this?
So, when we started the table back in 2011, the concept was very much inspired by the California style of food, which is ingredient driven, right? And this was something new as a concept to the city back then, because we were very used to having restaurants which were cuisine focused, like
Right.
Italian or Chinese or Indian or whatever, and something that was a little cuisine agnostic, but ingredient driven was, I think, lesser known in India or Bombay, at least at that time.
Mhm.
Um, but that was something that we felt, we enjoyed as that I'm talking about Jay and me, my husband, who is my business partner and co-founder. Um, and so it was just something that we enjoyed personally, because we're not from the restaurant background. We really had to do something that was personal to us, that felt like something we wanted, rather than trying to find, what the right concept is, or,
Mhm.
like looking for a gap in the market and things. I mean, not to say that that's not the right way to go about it, but it's just, it's not how we went about it. It was something that was, uh, we wanted if we went out to dine in a restaurant. And, it was a very challenging process, because, like I said, we were new to the industry. I'm a chartered accountant um, and lawyer by sort of education and training, whereas and my husband had a tech business in San Francisco. So, like, neither of us really knew much about the industry. So it was a very steep learning curve, and it took us a while to, get to being a profitable company. But I think, that profitability was, of course, every business wants that and wants to achieve that. But for us, getting the concept right, not compromising on quality, either of ingredients, of service, of the vision, was of paramount importance. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in the business, is that it's a very capital intense business. There's a lot of investment required um, upfront. And it also puts a lot of pressure then to recover that, and hit profitability sooner. And that sometimes leads to making, you know, compromises because of the pressure. But I think that's where things start to go wrong, because, people say restaurants go through this honeymoon period of the first sort of 5 6 months of, being great, and then after that you start seeing sometimes a little inconsistencies, etc. And I mean, we've been through it. We understand that that is a big challenge, but I think it's very, I mean, that's the biggest sort of learning I've had from this business. And what I attribute are sort of us still being around and still being, patronized by our guests, is consistency, and yes, it comes at a big cost, because you might have to wait longer to even break even. But I think it's well worth the wait. So, yeah.
That's so amazing to know about everything. And I think consistency is the only key factor for everything here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental crux of, like, success in the restaurant industry, is consistency. Because, people are creating memories in when they dine with you.
Correct.
And they, it's that memory that makes them come back to you, if,
Mhm.
if they've had a good experience, and when they come back, they want to relive that in a way, or they want to recreate that in a way. And you have to be consistent in order to do that.
Absolutely. So, like here, in regards to people, so I would really, love to ask. So, how do you maintain a strong relationship with your customers, community, basically your people, and what steps you take to respond the feedback and adapt changes for their need and preferences?
So, community is a very important part of this industry, because,
Correct.
like I said, you want people to come back again and again.
Mhm.
We're not in a city which is bustling with tourists throughout the year. And so you need
Correct.
your, local patrons to really patronize it throughout the year, and keep coming back, especially when you're in the premium dining space, when you're catering to a more niche audience. But I think, when it comes to building community, firstly, it's really about being authentic,
Mhm.
being yourself, like, where people feel comfortable, they feel it's relatable to your diner. And I genuinely feel like, I always tell my team this, that it's very important to make people feel like they're at home away from home, because that's what makes them come back again and again.
Absolutely
And how you do that has to be tailored to the person. You have to have people in the business who are people. They understand how to. At the end of the day, a lot of people think restaurants are just about food and beverage, and I actually think it's more about people. It's a people business, and whether it's your own team or whether it's your guests, and that's really a big part of why people feel like coming back. There's some connect that has to happen beyond just good food and drinks.
correct.
And it's really about making people feel special. It's not about like doing lots of drama and lots of sort of fanfare around people, but it's the little attention to detail that I think really makes the impact. And yeah.
Absolutely. 100% agreed to this. So here, when you stated that you were not, from a F&B industry all of a sudden, and you were a lawyer and having a tax background, being, studied in the university in London and then coming back to India after 8 years, then what actually was the one thing that inspired you to go ahead and pursue as a, F&B industry, your career in the F&B industry?
So I'll be honest, this was my husband Jay's idea. He had also just moved back from the US to India, and wanted to open a restaurant. And I actually tried talking him out of it. So it definitely wasn't my idea. But I understood where he was coming from. I think the whole sort of seed for the concept was sown in 2008, and
Mhm.
15 years ago, the whole dining scene was very different from what it is today. So there was a lot of room for, doing things in the city. I don't know if that meant we were the right people to do it, but, you know, there was definitely a sort of wide open, slate in a way to write on. And yeah, and I think we just took that opportunity and um, took a punt, really.
That's amazing to know. So I am certain of the fact, like, you've created a great empire with the Food Matters group, and I'm sure with this great success would definitely be a series of challenges that would have been following you. So would you put, some light on the challenges that you faced when you were at the initial point of starting the Food Matters group, and what were the strategies, or how did you overcome all of them?
I don't know if we've got an empire. I think it's a small business, compared to a lot of the big F&B players out there. But yeah, I mean, from one restaurant today, we have 7 brands. So
Absolutely.
besides the table, we have Mac Street Cafe, which is our more casual dining concept,
Mm-hmm.
uh, of which we have 2 outlets, one in Colaba, one in Lower Parel, and hopefully a third one coming up soon, a little further
Amazing.
north. And then COVID obviously was one of, I would say, the biggest challenge we've ever faced. But that also threw out a lot of opportunities. And that led to us having now 4 delivery brands, which are, a result of that uh, being like sort of nimble on your feet, and,
Uh-huh.
trying to figure out how to survive, I guess, in a situation like that. So those 4 delivery brands are Iktara, which is Indian food. We have Mag Street Toppings, which is our delivery pizza delivery brand. We have Misty, which is our Asian Pan Asian food, which is the outcome of a restaurant that we did have pre-COVID, which we closed. But we revived it as a delivery brand during COVID. And we have a bakery called Mag Street Bread Co. And so those are the 4 delivery brands. And then we have what we call a culinary playground, which is an event venue called Magazine Street Kitchen, where we host chefs, we do workshops. It's really a very like versatile space. where anyone can do anything. So yes, we've grown from being one restaurant for sure, but we're still very much Bombay centric as an organization. But yeah, I mean, it's every day I go to work with an intention to do certain things, and I get maybe like 10% of that done because there's always new challenges being thrown. I actually feel like uh, more than being called a restaurateur, it's almost like being a firefighter. Like that's what your job ends up being. That you're just basically putting out fires all the time, metaphorically speaking, hopefully, in in the business. And obviously, as you grow, whether it's brands or locations, the number of challenges grow proportionately. So it's the flip side of, I guess, growth in a way. But again, like, over the years, you get better at handling a lot of these challenges.
Absolutely.
But I would still say if I had to pick what is the biggest one, I mean, putting COVID aside, obviously, which affected everybody, adversely, I think, like I said, because it's a people business, like being able to identify the right team, groom them to what you want, to offer and to build as as a representation of your business, and then obviously to retain them. That I think is the biggest challenge our industry faces today. Other than, like, of course, things like taxes and um, bureaucracy, which is always there. But I think, genuinely something that's in our um like I would say like the most fundamental part of our business is our people.
Absolutely. So here, this brings, a very curious question in my mind that since you told me that Food Matters is, having different brands and venture. So how do you manage to balance actually and prioritize on your various projects here?
I'm still trying to figure that out. In the 13th year of our business, it's a big challenge, and I'm one of those sort of, I think, crazy people who then takes on things that I probably don't need to, and I still do it. And I never have enough hours in the day. I think that it's some things are when you're really passionate about something and you have to be in this business, right? Because whether it's because you're going to take a long time to see profitability, whether it's because there are so many challenges that you keep having to deal with day to day, so you really, there has to be something that keeps you going on a daily basis. And I think when you truly love what you do, you figure out you're always vested in trying to make it better. And I think that, like, I remember this sort of a few years into when we started, where I felt like, I was this perfectionist and I wanted everything to always be perfect. And soon you realize that's not going to happen. Like I said, it's a human business, so there are things that will go wrong. And as you grow as well, you can't be everywhere. Like when we were one restaurant, we were there every single day. You could give all your 100% attention to it. As you grow, obviously, you can't be everywhere all the time. And you have to learn, I think the key sort of way to handle this, I think, is learning how to, delegate, to build a sort of an army of people that you can trust and who have the same vision and standards as you, and who kind of become your eyes and ears when you can't be there. And I think key that's the only way that you can kind of balance having so many different brands and businesses. And at the same time, like the other things like writing the book, or I have a podcast as well, called This Round Is On Me. And I have a couple of podcasts actually, but this is the one that's active right now. I think that you also personally and individually have to keep challenging yourself and evolving, and you can't kind of stagnate in what you do. So sometimes it might feel like there's a lot of pressure and you've got too much on your plate. So of course, you have to figure all those things out. And I'm of course a mom to a 10-year-old, which is a very important job as well. And so I think like all those things, you have to like keep your passions alive. You have to keep your passions and interests alive. You have to kind of build a team that is able to you know do the things for you as you're growing, and be a support system to you. And yeah, and sometimes you might feel a little bit stressed under all of this, but hopefully it all is in short bursts. And yeah.
But no, this is absolutely, stunning to know that overcoming challenges is also an art. And I think we are all, are mastering in our all the ways.
Yeah, I mean, you have to learn to take things in your stride. You have to accept that sometimes things will go wrong, and understand how to deal with it, and move on, right? Like the important thing is to
Correct.
move on. I mean, we've opened a restaurant that we've had to close after 15 months. You can't kind of dwell in those
Uh-huh.
situations, and, you have to kind of keep going, not just for yourself, but also for your team, right? Because everyone looks up to you as a founder and as sort of the team leader in a way to, to stay inspired, stay motivated, etc. So yeah.
Correct. So here coming on to, being an expert in the industry. So could you share some key lessons that you've learned as a business owner and entrepreneur entirely throughout your journey?
I think all the things I've been talking about, yeah, the learnings that, I would share. I think, besides what I've already mentioned earlier, um, I would just say to people who want to maybe do this business, get into this industry, is that, do it for the right reasons. What you see on the face of it is maybe like 1% of it.
It's not the truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the truth, but there's a lot um that you don't see on the,
Absolutely.
on the surface, which is actually what you spend all your time doing as a restaurateur. And you may not realize that from the outside, but I think it's very important to go into it with open eyes. But it's a great business to be a part of once you kind of find your feet, and you find that this is actually what you want to do. It's a great business to be a part of. I mean, feeding people is such a pleasure, and it's so rewarding. But yeah, I mean, I think the key lesson or learning, I would say, is that and that's for someone who wants to get into the industry. But I think generally, like I said earlier, you have to be uh you have to be quite resilient um in this. And this is not just, I know that resilience was a big word during COVID, but I would say generally you have to have that slightly thick skin to keep going, because this business is one that's going to be throwing curveballs at you all the time.
Absolutely. So I have a different kind of corner for the people in the hospitality industry. I mean, you guys work so hard for everything and everything with that to perfection.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a 24/7 business. It's not one that you can really get weekends off on. In fact, you work hardest on the weekends when
Absolutely.
everyone else is relaxing. But like I said, it's very rewarding. And so, if you do things with uh, integrity and, consistency, there's no reason you can't sort of succeed in this business.
We have weekends, but you have another weekend that you have to work more on. So, coming under this, looking to the future, what are your goals and aspirations for the Food Matters group and its various brands that you have?
Uh, I can't sort of plan too far ahead, because we've learned that I mean, it's something that, like, we have always, I think, carved our own path in terms of not following a conventional route of expansion. Having said that, I think the concept that we created with Max Street Cafe is something that, has, it's about a year and a half old. It's seen, touch wood, great sort of a great response
Mm-hmm.
in its sort of short lifetime so far. And it's something that we feel we can scale up. So, like I said, we're working on a new project in a new outlet for it in Bandra, and hopefully, do a few more of those. And yeah, but for us, it's really we don't have some grand 5-year plan, to be honest, which is
Uh-huh.
probably not the technically right thing to say as a business person, but it's just as two promoters, it's important for us to kind of also take it at our own pace and see what else is happening around us. But for now, yeah, in the short term, we'll continue to scale in Bombay itself.
Amazing. So, Gauri, towards the last question now, one thing, one advice you would definitely give to all the budding restaurateurs out there.
Do it. Yeah, do it, grow a thick skin, and like I said, keep up the consistency and quality. Never drop the ball on that. I think that's the fundamental pillar of this business. And if either of those kind of um, uh, fail you, then your building won't stand for very long. So yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Absolutely, Gauri. It was amazing to host you today. It's, a pleasure to have amazing leaders like you here in our community. Thank you
Thank
for
you
coming.
so much for having me.